A lot of things change in my channel, but there is one thing that never changes, and it's my subscribers asking for a new kick and bass mixing tutorial. In today's video, we are going to take a look at 8 different levels of kick and bass mixing. I have actually just launched my courses. One of the courses is everything about melodic techno low end. Before we start mixing the low end, let's take a listen what we have here. It's a very famous one. I'm sure you immediately remember what we are talking about here. First level of mixing low end is getting your levels right. Let's put the kick -6 dB to start with, turn off the bass, and just try to mix the kick together with other elements. It doesn't need to be perfect. The rule of thumb is actually your bass should be around like 3 to 6 dB below your kick level. I have a whole video about it. I will put it here. For this video, I will just do by the ear. If you have a problem to really hear the loudness levels, what I could suggest to you is first group both of them. You lean loudness meter to the kick. Solo this now and take a look at our loudness meter. If you turn this off, it will just show you the loudness curve. You can actually decrease the scale range, something like this. We are around -7 dB and the kicks are always stable, so it's the same loudness level all the time. Copy this one, put into the bass group. The bass is not as stable as the kick, different velocities in the bass. Let's make it even more closer, something like this. -7.5 for the kick, maybe around here I see like -12.5. I will say around 5 dB quieter. Like I said, that's fine. This -3 to -6 depends a little bit on the genres. In the electronic dance music, it tends to be in that level. I will keep the levels like this. The second level, sidechaining your kick to your bass. There are really many ways to do it. I will just use a good old compression for the sidechain. Open this up, sidechain. We are going to listen from the kick. If we go here, there is a look ahead button, so that when the kick hits, we already cleared out the space for the sub bass, right? Let's play them together, get a sweet spot. Kick immediately got into the front, the sub bass is ducking, breathing and pumping feel that is very classic in electronic dance music. Level 3, frequency enhancement and extra color. This is an optional color. If you feel like this sub bass is good enough for you, you can actually keep that way. First of all, the sub bass can use a bit of distortion, so then I can make it slightly richer on the high end. I'm gonna go for the overdrive. The main reason of using distortion is increasing the harmonic richness on a slightly higher end, so that people still can hear it whatever device they are listening. This is a bit too much. Decrease drive it, so it's kind of parallel processing. I want to make it a bit more pronunciated, so I'm going to bring in something like this. It's a bit more pronunciated on that top end. When we are listening to isolated low end, it may feel like you are hearing a bit too much high end with your bass. Listen all together with the track. All this top end a bit disappeared because now we have a bit more BUZ mix. I would like to have, similar to the original track, this deep ambience. I have already prepared, of course, this delay here. I actually forget to take the returns off so that we were always hearing the delay sound. Just have a delay and reverb and sidechain the bass itself. Without it, our bass should have been like this. Together. This really cool ambience. Level 4, making the bass a bit groovier so it blends in with the kick more naturally. First thing that we will take a look, actually the velocities, so that this loudness level, it was already there. That is the reason that the loudness also changing a little bit. It's like otherwise it will be sounding like this. Do you see how much it changes from here to there? One thing that is missing here though, placement of the notes are always on the grid. It can be a bit off the grid. You can adjust it manually. I'm super lazy. What I'm going to do, I'm going to just use the groove library. You can click this one and pick a groove that you enjoy. I don't care that much, so let's take this calypso. I'm gonna bring this down. I don't want to exaggerate it really. And then what you need to do, click this one. This will apply the positioning of the notes. If you take a close look, you will see that we are not really on the grid anymore. So we relax the beat a little bit. The bass sometimes comes a bit earlier, sometimes comes a bit later. Gives you a natural feel in the mix. Attenuating your kick and the bass, and this one is also a bit optional depending on the bass and the kick that you have. I want to hear kick and bass a bit separated from each other. Try to feel like which band I enjoy the kick sound most. This really depends on your taste. What I tend to do, take a really smooth curves like this. Look at this. This part is very thumpy. I want to attenuate this part, and I definitely don't want super low end with the kick. And maybe attenuate a bit here. Without. It just brings a little bit body to the kick itself. Now take this, put it in your bass, and you see this scale plus 100%. When you bring it down, this applies actually a negative version of that curve. You don't need to go 100% or even more. You can really listen together and see, create this puzzle piece. Kick and bass is slightly separated from each other. So I don't want to change too much, but it's really up to your taste. Remember, the boost that we made on the kicks like this and the cut actually changes your loudness level. So at the end of the process, you may come back or play with the loudness level one more time. Number 6, dynamic EQing and checking the masking elements. Your kick and bass also depends a little bit the other elements in your track. This loop doesn't have a pad. Bass actually comes through nicely, but one thing that you can consider, these two plug sound. If you take a look at the guitar, take a look at the bass again. We want this pronunciation, especially around 1K. You'll see the guitar also enjoys a bit that area as well. If you feel like any of the elements that is masking your bass sound, you can consider dynamic EQ. You can actually use tools like Pro MB, Pro Q to do it faster. I'm gonna use it with the Ableton devices. Bring an envelope follower. Then we're gonna add an EQ to guitar. Remember that we want to emphasize just this area around 1.2, this part. When the bass hits, what we want is this one to go down. We go back here, take the map of the envelope follower, go back and put it into the gain knob. Now it's too much. So what you want to do, put this into the 50, put this into the 0, and then go back. And you have to play with the scale. If you put in 0, it will go like this. Fine tune, go back here. I think if you bring down the gain like this, it is much more closely following. And of course, the final step should be that you listen together and find that sweet spot. Do you see the difference? Thumb comes through when you just duck the EQ right there. Once we are at this stage, we can actually try to glue everything a bit together by group processing the bass and the kick together. I am addicted to use glue compression on my kick and sub simply because it really helps out with smoothing and gluing everything together. Increase the attack because I don't want to mess with the kick's initial transient, and I'm gonna smooth out the release so that it's this smooth curve. If you want to do more aggressive gluing like this, because this never comes back to the 0 really, you will start clipping the transient of the kick as well. In that case, you may actually consider faster release time so that it comes back again. But I want more subtle because I want to show one more trick afterwards. Something like this. And then I'm gonna take a channel EQ, a slight boost and slight cut attenuates again the sub bass. This track, I feel like it doesn't need that much of glue because of all the other steps that we did, but before after sounds like this. Number 8, sub-smoothing. This is actually something that I often do when I master tracks of my customers as well. For the sub bass, especially below 100 Hz. Do you hear this? When When we hear the sub bass, we don't like the sudden changes in the sub bass because it puts a lot of pressure to our eardrums. So sub smoothing basically means that if we take something like multiband compression, we try something around 100 to 200 Hz. We have to listen, of course. Somewhere here. Now we are compressing all the way down, but the thing is, you pull this up, so we are boosting and compressing at the same time, so that the signal actually moves a bit smoother. Dynamic range of the sub bass is actually compressed. This is something almost every, let's say, master engineer knows and does to make everything a bit smoother in the track. Without? With? Let's listen one more time all together. Once you kind of complete all the steps, you can consider one more time to check out your levels. Maybe you can adjust a little bit closely. If you enjoyed this video, I have actually just launched my courses. One of the courses is everything about melodic techno low end. We go through all these different types of melodic techno low end. We go through how you mix it, and then we take a look at the close look from the professional tracks. We break them down so that you actually see from the real life case how they made that low end and how everything is mixed together. And on top of that, you will get extra presets, extra samples, project files, everything for you to use in your projects. And on top of that, we have also prepared these cool posters when you need a fast help. It took quite a bit of time for me to create these classes, but I did my best so that you will enjoy taking them.